Hi, my name is Pete and today I give you my view on this TerraMaster network attached storage device, the F2-423. The F2-423 is available on Amazon for just under $360 US. The hardware specifications you get for this price are very good. The TerraMaster F2-423 contains a quad-core Intel processor, 4 GB of upgradable memory, space for two 3.5-inch SATA hard drives, 2 slots for NVMe M.2 SSDs, two 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports and two 3.1 USB ports. The software is very versatile and you have endless possibilities with this device with its App Store, third-party app support and of course the support for virtualization and Docker containers. The unit ships in a plain brown box with a TerraMaster logo on it. Once we open the box, we see another box with accessories and the unit itself protected by foam covers. On the side we see a big sticker about the 24-hour response, and this is part of the exclusive worry-free warranty. You get a new replacement within 2 years of warranty and there's a quick service that responds in 24 hours if there are any problems that might occur with your device. Once we open the accessory box, we see there's a power adapter, a network cable, some screws, some rubber O-rings, rubber feet, some stickers to put on the drive base, a warranty card, instructions on how to install a hard drive, and a quick installation guide. The unit is nicely protective wrapped in foil. On the side there's the TerraMaster logo. On the front we see a LED for the hard disk drives, HDD1 and HDD2, an LED for the LAN connection and an LED for the power state. On the back we find an HDMI out port, two USB 3 ports and the two 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports. And there's one fan installed to keep the system cool. On the bottom we see some air vents. We're now going to install a 3.5-inch hard drive in the one bay. These bays are screwless, so we don't need any screws to install the hard drive. There are still screws for if you would like to mount your hard drives, and I think they also come in hand when you want to install 2.5-inch SATA drives or SSDs. We take off the plastics on the side. We put the drive in place within the drive bay. And we snap on the plastics on both sides. The drive fits real tight, so indeed no screws are needed. To install memory upgrades or NVMe SSDs, we need to open up the case. We take out the drive base. As an example, I'm going to install an NVMe SSD drive. We place the unit with its front down on a flat surface like a table. Around the van you see 4 screw holes, and these are Phillips screws. While using a magnetic screwdriver, I did have some trouble with releasing the screws, so I fast forward this a little. We pop out the rear. And here are the screws that didn't come out. Oh, and watch out because the rear is still connected to the fan header. So we need to unplug it from the fan header. And now we can lift off the metal surrounding. We see one installed memory module. At the bottom of the device we see another memory slot, and we see 2 slots to install the NVMe SSDs. The screws for holding the NVMe SSDs are already in place, so we need to unscrew. The important thing is when you install an NVMe SSD that you place it within a 45-degree angle while pushing it within the slot. Now you press the NVMe SSD towards the slot and you can mount the screw back on. We just follow the steps in reverse order and put the unit back together. I think TerraMaster uses the same motherboard for the F4 version and the F5 version of this model, because there are 2 fan connectors. I noticed on other reviews that TerraMaster had put a screwdriver in their accessory box, but it was missing in the unit we received. And I think it would come in hand when you're going to install the NVMe SSDs or do a memory upgrade, because you do need to unscrew some screws. Now we are going to pop in the drive base, and we're done with our NVMe SSD upgrade. On the back there are 2 Ethernet ports, but it doesn't say which is port 1 or which is port 2. I'll connect the power cable, try to power on the device. The LEDs are blinking, there is a small beep. So let's try if we can find the TerraMaster on our network. To find the TerraMaster on our network, we're going to download a tool from TerraMaster. which you can find at the download page. Use the PC app for Windows. The app is also available for Ubuntu Linux and for Mac OS X. When we install the tool from TerraMaster, we have to allow it from firewall rules, else it won't find any devices on our home network. And we see its IP address listed. When we point the web browser to this IP address, we see the TerraMaster NAS. And it warns us we need to use disks from their compatibility list. So make sure if you buy new hard drives, they're listed on the compatibility list. It asks us how we want to initialize our TNAS, and we go for the default options. We need to select the hard drives, and it scans the hard drives for bad blocks before using them. And once done, we press next. Now the NAS is downloading the software from the internet, and when it's done downloading, it's going to restart. After restarting, we're welcomed with some tips about the system security on the default user that has been disabled. So we need to create an admin user before using the NAS. After creating an account, it warns us that all data on the hard drives will be deleted. Sure, let's go ahead. And finally, we're done initializing the NAS. Okay, we're welcomed now with a storage pool that is synchronizing, and I see it uses about 500 gigs, so this should be the NVMe SSD. It's working, but I don't want it to be a volume, I want it to use for caching, and I don't see the other drive we've installed. So let's remove this volume. And this storage pool. I now see we're in risk from the security advisor. Let's have a look at that later. Okay, we're going to create a volume on the installed hard drive. And because we removed the storage pool that it was building, we're going to create it on a new storage pool. We can select the hard drives. We're going to use the 2 terabyte mechanical hard drive, and we're going to put it in T-RAID mode, so we can easily extend it with a second hard drive anytime later on. It asks us to enable HyperLock, which is a protection against ransomware for files that you mostly read and not write to, so it will keep them in that state. It asks us which file system we want to choose, BTRFS or X4. BTRFS has support for snapshots, and that's also a thing you can use for backups and against ransomware attacks. So we're going for BTRFS in this case. We confirm the settings and it creates the volume. Now we're going to set up the HyperCache for SSD caching. NAS recognizes the installed NVMe disk, so we select it. And we can choose different caching modes. We'll keep it with the default enabled mode, that's balance mode, and that provides the SSD caching for read actions on the NAS, and that's what we want. So files we access often will be loading faster off this SSD. Okay, the caching does require some system memory to be used, so we can't use more than 70% of the device capacity. It now creates our SSD cache. Let's go back to that security advisor. and check the help because I'm not sure what it is. Security advisor scans for system settings and will give you tips on how to resolve them and make your system more secure. Okay, let's check some of the basic apps that come pre-installed with TOS 5. One is Remote Assistance. Here you can open up your device for remote assistance from TerraMaster. You can also report issues or bugs to the TerraMaster team. Remote Access, TNAS Online. This is a service like Synology has with their Quick ID, if I'm correct. So you can access your NAS from outside your network. And there's a dynamic DNS service to provide your system with a host name if you don't have a solid IP. So the backup tool has all kinds of possibilities for backing up your NAS over various protocols. It can use rsync, it can make snapshots, it can receive Apple Time Machine backups. It has support for TFM backups. It's like a folder mirroring. It can back up your USB devices, or you can make backups to USB devices. It can sync from and to TerraSync NAS with a TerraSync server software. It can sync with your cloud provider. It can make snapshots and all kinds of other backup possibilities. The help app links to the website of TerraMaster, and it has a file manager to see your files on the shared folders. The App Center contains a lot of apps that TerraMaster provides. And we can see the Plex icon, the Docker icon, the MB icon, and all other apps that are available. On the settings, you can choose on which volume it should install apps. That could be in hand when you have a regular SSD installed, not for caching. Let's create a user. We're going to create the user John. So we need to set up a password. We can enable storage quota. That means the maximum amount of storage the user John could use on the system. You could assign it to a user group. You can set permissions is read-write on the public folder. Okay, we confirm the settings and the user is created. We're now going to create a shared folder. We'll name it Movies to store movies on this share. There are options to encrypt the shared folder if you would like to, and also to enable a recycle bin. And the recycle bin stores files that you delete so you can restore them. We can set permissions for this shared folder, and we want John to have full access to the folder. We can enable storage quota, set a maximum amount of storage for this shared folder. And now we have our shared folder created. Let's connect to this folder from a Windows PC. In a File Explorer window, in the address bar, we just type 2 slashes with the IP address of the NAS system with another slash and the name of the share, like in this example, movies. And we type in the credentials of the newly made user, John. And we now have access to the shared folder from our Windows PC. I had some movies prepared. These are 4K trailers we are going to use for as an example, and copy them to the movies share. Because of the 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports, I'm not worried about cable speed. However, I'm working on a laptop with Wi-Fi, so that's why we only see a transfer speed of around 30 MBs, megabytes a second. Let's check the file manager on our NAS. And if we go to the folder movies, we see our copied movies. We're now going to the App Store and install Docker. Let's scroll down and click the install button. It's downloading Docker, installing, and it's done. Once we click the icon, we get presented with the Docker app. Let's head over to the registry and let's search for the Jellyfin Docker image. We select it and we click the download button. It asks us which version we want to download, the latest, and we press download. And after downloading, it will be available at the image section. At the image section, we select it and we press the arrow to run it. We can give the container a custom name and we can also set resource limits. We can add volumes to the container and we're going to add the volume containing our movies we've just created and copied movies to. And we give it a mount point so we can use it within the Docker container. There's some default ports needed to launch this container, and we can add some custom variables which we need to initialize this container. We give it some IDs from the root user so we can access the file system and make sure we have right permissions on the movie share. We want to use the same network as our host, and when we go to the container section of the application, we can now see the container we've just created running. So we open up a new window and we connect to the IP address of the NAS on the port 8096, and we are presenting with a welcome to Jellyfin setup program. We set our preferred language, we create an admin user. We're now going to add some libraries, and if we select the data movies folder, we can see the movies we've copied to the NAS. Again, some language selections. And we want it to retrieve and store the movie information and pictures automatically. And we now have a movie collection. Please never use UPnP or other services because it will automatically forward ports from your firewall or router to the box, and it's unsafe to open ports up to the real world. We're done configuring and we can log in with the admin user. And we see our copied movies, and let's play Batman. Going to skip it a bit.
You really could be doing more for the city.
Okay, that's screen fine. Let's try Transformers. Let's skip it a bit.
Prime. There is a darkness
So we see it has no trouble at all. So I want to do a comparison with two other NASs, the QNAP TS253D and the Synology DS220+. Why these models? Because they're also available on Amazon within the same price range. So the more Docker containers, applications or virtual machines you're going to use, you want cores. And it seems the Synology only has 2 CPU cores, which makes it a bit weaker than the other systems. The passmark score is a benchmark and shows how strong a CPU really is, and we see the TerraMaster really has a good processor installed. The downside of the processor used within the TerraMaster is it has a power draw max of 15 watts, while the other has 10 watts. The F2-423 comes either with a Intel N5095 processor or a N5105 processor, and the difference is the power draw of 5 watts. So I guess I didn't have luck with this unit because I got the 15 watt version, but for the same chance you'll receive the 10 watt version. Amount of memory is okay on the TerraMaster and the QNAP, but it's a little less on the Synology. The maximum supported RAM is at its highest capacity on the TerraMaster NAS, but I have to inform you that you can only use TerraMaster DIMMs on this device, while the other vendors usually will take memory from other brands also. And we usually see that the vendor's maximum amount of memory isn't always the real maximum amount of memory. They all support 2 SATA base, and here comes a real positive point also on the TerraMaster, that is that it supports 2 M.2 NVMe slots by default, and at QNAP you can upgrade it using a PCIe Express card, and the Synology has no support for it. The Synology has slower network ports. The TerraMaster does have an HDMI out port, but it isn't in use really. The TerraMaster does have 2 USB ports placed inside, as one is used to boot off the bootloader from a USB drive. The TerraMaster F2-423 is a powerful machine in terms of hardware. It's perfect for home use and multimedia appliances like streaming, and also for office use using virtualization. The price of $360 is very interesting for what you get compared to the competition, especially because of the option for the 2 M.2 slots, which you can use for NVMe SSDs. TOS 5 offers many options. It's got its own apps, and including VirtualBox for virtualization, the support for third-party apps, and the support for Docker makes the apps and services to be used endless. I think one point of improvement could be that memory you can use for this device has to be from the TerraMaster brand. Now, it is widely available on Amazon. Make sure if you're going to buy a TerraMaster NAS device that you watch for a combi deal, then the memory is slightly cheaper. Thanks for watching this video, and see you next time on Peach Views.